They don't want you to know this. Your mechanic, the service writer, the dealership, they are all counting on you being confused and trusting them blindly because there are a handful of common repairs they suggest every single day that you absolutely do not need. They are completely fake, unnecessary, or just a massive waste of your money. If you don't know the difference between what your car needs and what the shop wants to sell you, you are leaving hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars on the table every year. Today, we are going to look at the 9 most common upsell scams in the auto repair world. We're going to give you the exact facts you need to say no immediately and the proof you need to back it up. If your mechanic suggests any of these 9 things, tell them to stop. Tell them you've done your research and walk out with your wallet intact. Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in. This video is all about protecting you. Car maintenance and repair should be simple, but it has become a nightmare of confusion and unnecessary costs. I have worked in and around the auto industry for years, and I've seen the exact playbook that many shops use to inflate their tickets and pad their profits. They rely on fear and a few technical terms that sound important but are actually meaningless in your situation. We're not talking about flat-out illegal scams here. We are talking about what I call the legal upsell. These are services that can technically be done, but in 99% of cases, they are totally unnecessary, overpriced, or done way too early. If you drive a car and you take it to a professional shop, which is most of us, you need this information. Knowing these 9 items is like having a secret shield against the checkout counter shock. We're going to start with the most common one, the one they push every time you get your oil changed. The problem, the flushes and fills frenzy. The #1 way shops make extra money on simple maintenance is by selling you a flush. Fluid flushes sound professional, they sound important, and they sound like they are cleaning out bad stuff. Most of the time, they are a complete waste of cash. Scam #1, the transmission fluid flush. This is the big one. You go in for an oil change at 50,000 miles, and the service writer comes out and says, "We really recommend a full transmission flush and fill. It's vital to the health of your gearbox." They quote you $300 to $600. The lie. They tell you that flushing all the old fluid out and putting new fluid in is the only way to save your transmission. The truth you need to know. For most modern cars, a total transmission flush is either unnecessary or, in some cases, can actually cause damage. Here is why. Modern transmissions, especially the automatic and continuously variable transmissions, CVTs, run on incredibly complex, specialized fluids. When they perform a flush, they connect a machine that pumps pressurized fluid through the system to force all the old fluid out. For high-mileage cars, 100,000 plus miles, that have never had a fluid change, the old fluid has fine clutch and metal particles suspended in it. Those particles are actually the only things the worn transmission clutch packs have left to create friction. If you violently flush all that fluid out, you are essentially removing the glue that was holding your worn parts together. This can lead to slipping and total failure weeks later. If your transmission fluid is really dark and smells burnt at high mileage, you should only perform a simple drain and fill, which is much gentler, cheaper, and safer. For lower mileage cars, most manufacturers specify a drain and fill, not a full flush. Draining the fluid from the pan and refilling it with new fluid replaces about 60% of the old fluid, which is more than enough. You simply repeat the drain and fill a few thousand miles later if you are worried. This is cheaper and follows the manufacturer's procedure. Your line to say no. No, thank you. I will only authorize a simple transmission drain and fill using the manufacturer's specified fluid type. Scam #2, power steering fluid flush. This one is sneaky. Power steering fluid is important, sure. It gets old and dark. But a full flush? The lie. That dirty fluid is destroying your pump and your steering rack. The truth you need to know. Power steering systems are low pressure and very simple. Yes, the fluid degrades, but a flush is rarely needed. Instead, you can have them use a cheap hand pump to suck out the fluid from the reservoir, refill it with new fluid, drive the car a little, and repeat the process 3 or 4 times over a few weeks. This is called the turkey baster method, and it's what many skilled DIY people do. The fluid in the reservoir is the most contaminated. By replacing the reservoir fluid several times, you effectively cycle the clean fluid throughout the whole system, safely, easily, and for a fraction of the cost of a formal flush. Your mechanic should just recommend checking the fluid level, not a high-priced flush. You're lying to say no. I'd like to stick to checking the fluid level and perhaps replacing the reservoir fluid, but I do not require a system flush. Scam number 3. Fuel system cleaning, injector flush. This is often sold as a tune-up helper, and it is almost always a huge ripoff. The lie: deposits are building up in your injectors, robbing you of power and hurting your gas mileage. The truth you need to know: the only thing your fuel system needs to stay clean is high-quality fuel, and occasionally, a simple over-the-counter bottle of concentrated fuel injector cleaner from a reputable brand poured into your gas tank. Modern gasoline already contains detergents. For most drivers who don't drive performance cars or very old vehicles, those detergents are plenty. The super-concentrated cleaning machines shops use are overkill and incredibly expensive. You can buy the strongest bottle of cleaner at the auto parts store for $15 and pour it in yourself. It does the same job safely and gently. They are selling you a $15 product for $150 of labor. You're lying to say no. I handle my fuel system cleaning myself using additive treatments. Please cancel that service. The problem: preemptive parts replacement. The second huge area for upselling is replacing parts that still have plenty of life left in them, just because they look old. Scam number 4. Replacing the cabin air filter. Every 6 months, you go in for a service and they bring you a black, dirty cabin air filter and say, "Look how disgusting this is. You need a new one right now for $80. The lie: that dirty filter is making you sick and is ruining your car's air conditioning system. The truth you need to know: the cabin air filter is designed to get dirty. That's its job. Unless you live on a dirt road or are allergic, you do not need to replace this every oil change. You can usually stretch the replacement interval to once every 15,000 to 20,000 miles, 25,000 to 32,000 kilometers for most people. More importantly, this is one of the easiest, simplest, and cheapest things to do yourself. The filter usually sits behind the glove box, and you can access it in 3 minutes with zero tools. The filter itself costs $15 online. The shop is charging you $65 for 5 minutes of easy labor. Never pay a shop to replace your cabin air filter unless you are physically unable to do it. You're lying to say no. I'll handle the cabin air filter replacement at home. Please leave the old one in. Scam number 5. Changing spark plugs before 100,000 miles. This is a very specific scam that preys on the old-school knowledge that spark plugs used to need changing every 30,000 miles. The lie: your engine will start misfiring if you don't change these plugs now. The truth you need to know: most modern cars, we are talking cars built in the last 15-20 years, come with iridium or platinum spark plugs. These are high-tech, expensive plugs that are engineered to last 100,000 miles, 160,000 kilometers or more, according to the manufacturer. If your shop suggests changing these at 60,000 or 75,000 miles, they are selling you a service you don't need. They are charging $400 or $500 for a repair that isn't due for years. Always check your owner's manual for the spark plug replacement interval. It is almost certainly 100,000 miles. Don't let them do it early. You're lying to say no. The manufacturer specifies 100,000 miles for the iridium plugs in this engine. I will wait until that mileage. Scam number 6. Brake pad replacement based purely on visual check. You take your car in, and the mechanic says, "Your brakes look like they only have 20% left. We need to change them immediately." The lie: you are risking metal-on-metal contact and expensive rotor damage by waiting. The truth you need to know: this is manipulative. While low pads do need changing, a visual estimate is just that. An estimate. Most brake pads come with wear indicators, little metal tabs that start squealing loudly when the pads are truly low, around 10% life left. Unless your brakes are squealing or grinding, you have time. If a shop says you have 20% left, that is still plenty of life for weeks or months of normal driving. They are using the low percentage to scare you into doing an expensive job today, when you could shop around or wait until your next paycheck. Don't rush a brake job unless the car is making noise or the pads are under 5%. Your line to say no. I'll keep an eye on them, but I'll wait until the wear indicator starts squealing or until my next service appointment. The problem. The vague diagnostic. This third area is where shops use confusing language and cheap labor to sell you expensive, hard-to-prove parts. Scam 7. Oxygen sensor replacement based on a code. Your check engine light, CEL, comes on. You take the car in. The shop scans the computer and says, "Bad oxygen sensor. That'll be $350. The lie. The computer says the O2 sensor is bad, so we must replace the O2 sensor. The truth you need to know. The CEL is a diagnostic tool, but the code it throws is often for a symptom, not the root problem. A code saying the oxygen sensor is reading out of range, P0171, P174, does not mean the sensor itself is broken. It means the sensor is doing its job and detecting something wrong with the air-to-fuel ratio. The actual problem is often something cheap and easy. A vacuum leak, a loose hose, a loose gas cap. Yes, seriously. A tiny crack in a low-cost intake elbow. A good mechanic tests the sensor first to confirm it's actually faulty. A bad shop just replaces the sensor based on the code, and when the CEL comes back on a week later, they tell you it must be the next thing they diagnosed. Never approve an O2 sensor replacement until they show you the test data proving the sensor itself is failed. Your line to say no. What diagnostic steps did you take to confirm the sensor itself has failed rather than the problem being a simple vacuum or air leak? Scam 8. Wipers and headlight restoration. This is a filler service, pure and simple. The lie. Your visibility is dangerously low, and we can restore your headlights and replace your wipers for a great package deal. The truth you need to know. Wipers are a safety feature, but they are incredibly easy to replace. Like the cabin air filter, they cost maybe $30 for a pair of good blades and take literally 60 seconds to snap on. They are trying to charge you $60 for 1 minute of work. Headlight restoration is often a very temporary fix. While sometimes necessary, the kits they use are cheap, and the shine often fades quickly, forcing you to come back. If your headlights are truly cloudy, look into a proper, long-lasting restoration service that includes a UV protective clear coat, or do it yourself using one of the countless kits available for cheap. Do not accept the $100 upcharge on your oil change receipt for a 5-minute sand job. Your line to say no. I replace my own wipers, and I will research a proper long-term solution for the headlights if they become a major issue. The climax. The hidden code and the most dangerous lie. This last one is the most dangerous because it deals with the most expensive system in your car, the cooling system and the engine itself. Scam 9. Coolant flush, the unnecessary chemical bomb. This is the big one that ties back into the flush frenzy, but it's particularly damaging because of what they use. The lie. Your coolant is acidic and needs flushing to prevent internal engine corrosion and overheating. The truth you need to know. Your car is designed to use a specific type of coolant called OEM, Original Equipment Manufacturer Coolant. This is usually an expensive, highly specialized mix, like pink, blue, or purple coolant, designed for the specific metals, seals, and gaskets in your engine. It contains specialized corrosion inhibitors that last a very long time, often 5 to 10 years or 100,000 miles before it needs changing. The scam happens when they perform a universal flush and use generic green one-size-fits-all coolant to refill your system because it's cheap. The danger. Mixing generic coolant with your car's specialized coolant can lead to chemical reactions, sludge buildup, and rapid corrosion. If you use the wrong coolant type, you can completely destroy your water pump, radiator, and even the heater core. The check. Look at the color of the fluid they are putting in. If your car came with pink coolant and they are putting in bright green, they are damaging your car long-term to save $20 on the fluid cost. The ultimate line to say no. I only authorize a coolant service if you guarantee the use of manufacturer specification X, e.g., G12 or HOT coolant, and I need to confirm the type being used before the service begins. If they cannot confirm they are using the specialized fluid your owner's manual calls for, tell them no. It is always safer to wait and go to the dealership for a guaranteed fluid change or buy the correct OEM fluid yourself and take it to a trustworthy, independent shop. Conclusion and your shield. So, to summarize your protective shield against the upsell, stop the flush frenzy. Say no to the power steering, fuel, and most transmission flushes. Ask for a cheaper, gentler drain and fill or simple additive treatment instead. Verify the wear. Never pay for cabin filters or spark plugs early. Check your manual, 100K miles for plugs, and check the price for the easy DIY parts. Don't rush a brake job unless the pads are under 5% or squealing. Demand proof of failure. If the CEL is on and they suggest a new O2 sensor, ask them to prove the sensor itself is broken, not just reporting a problem caused by a cheap hose. Guard the coolant. Never let them put cheap generic coolant into your specialized cooling system. Demand they use the manufacturer-specific fluid type. The next time you walk into a shop, go in confident. You now have the knowledge that protects you from the most common and expensive upsell scams. By knowing these 9 points, you are already miles ahead of the average customer, and you are ready to keep your money where it belongs, in your wallet.